दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते सप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी कृष्णकानुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानुत्पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम
Hare. Thank you, Shashwin. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances. All Guru Shri Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances too. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a bit about Krishna with all of you. And if there are any mistakes, please do guide me and please do correct me. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you so much, Ashwin, for doing the Mangalacharya. So I'll read the shloka and the purport, and then I'll start with the discussion.
Okay.
So let me just bring up Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Narayanam Namaskritam Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasim Tato Jayamudire Ashtaprashya Patreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttamashlake Bhakti Bhavati Nashtaki. So we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 12, and verse 33 today. Tad abhipretam alaksha bharat pratarochuta koditaha dhanam prahinam ajarur udicham dishipurishaha. Translation: understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, collected sufficient riches from the north left by King Maruta. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaj Maruta, one of the great emperors of the world, he reigned over the world long before the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was the son of Maharaj Avikshit and was a great devotee of the sun god known as Yamraja. His brother Samvarta was a rival priest of the great Brihaspati, the learned priest of the demigods. He conducted one sacrifice called Sankara Yagna, by which the Lord was so satisfied that he was pleased to hand over the charge of a mountain peak of gold. This peak of gold is somewhere in the Himalaya mountains, and modern adventurers may try to find them there. He was so powerful an emperor that at the day's end of sacrifice, the demigods from the other planets like Indra, Chandra, and Brihaspati used to visit his palace. And because he had the gold peak at his disposal, he had sufficient gold in his possession. The canopy of the sacrificial altar was completely made of gold. In his daily performances of the sacrificial ceremonies, some of the inhabitants of the Vayuloka, airy planets, were invited to expedite the cooking work of the ceremony, and the assembly of the demigods in the ceremony was led by Vishvadeva. By his constant pious work, he was able to drive out all kinds of diseases from the jurisdiction of his kingdom. All the inhabitants of higher planets like Devaloka and Pitraloka were pleased with him for his great sacrificial ceremonies. Every day he used to give in charity to the learned brahmanas, such as bedding, seeds, conveyances, and sufficient quantities of gold. Because of munificent charities and performances of innumerable sacrifices, the King of Heaven, Indradeva, was fully satisfied with him and always wished for his welfare. Due to his pious activities, he remained a young man throughout his life and reigned over the world for 1,000 years, surrounded by his satisfied subjects, ministers, legitimate wives, sons, and brothers. Even Lord Sri Krishna praised the spirit of pious activities. He handed over his only daughter to Maharshi Angira, and by his good blessings, he was elevated to the kingdom of heaven. First of all, he wanted to offer the priesthood of his sacrifices to learned Brihaspati, but the demigod refused to accept the post because of the king's being a human being, a man of this earth. He was very sorry for this, but on the advice of Narad Muni, he appointed Samvarta to the post, and he was successful in his mission. The success of a particular type of sacrifice completely depends on the priest in charge. In this age, all kinds of sacrifice are forbidden because there is no learned priest among the so-called Brahmanas who go by the false notion of becoming sons of Brahmanas without Brahminical qualifications. In this age of Kali, therefore, only one kind of sacrifice is recommended, Sankirtan Yagna, as inaugurated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Om Jnana Timiranthyasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tashmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauruvani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Vashyata Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you very much. So thank you again for giving me the opportunity to share some of my thoughts around this beautiful verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Being able to say anything of the Lord is the greatest service. And when we are talking about the message of the Lord in Srimad Bhagavatam, who is none other than the Lord himself in the book form, it is one of the greatest opportunities and the mercies that one can possibly have. So to be able to share a few words on this and to be given a chance to do this service, I thank all of you once again. And should there be any inaccuracy on my behalf, I do request all the senior devotees in the call to please correct me and advise me of the correct thing. So as we see, this is a very beautiful verse, and there are quite a few things to touch upon in this verse. The translation of this verse is very short. It's only two sentences, but Prabhupada has given quite a few points in his purport. So the first, there are a few things which I thought I would touch upon, but I do, if there's anything else you want to add, please do. The first thing that struck me in this verse is the word in the translation, the first word, understanding. So I thought we'll try to understand what is meant by that word understanding in Krishna consciousness. And then we'll start off with a bit of the context as to why we have come to this, why we come to this verse that starts with understanding. Where does Krishna come into all of this? Where do we come into all of this? And then it is also there's also a bit of information about King Yudhishthira and his brothers and the yagna that is being thought of by King Yudhishthira to be done. And following on from there, the purport that Prabhupada gives, he talks about the great King Maruti and his qualities and what we learn from the qualities of the king. And then towards the end of the purport, there's a bit about yagna, and the word yagna runs through the verse and the whole of the purport, because it is where where we start on how Yudhishthira Maharaj is thinking about a yagna. It's in the purport of how King Maruti does the yagna, and Prabhupada ends the purport with talking about yagna in those times and what is happening now, what should be the case now, and what kind of yagna should be practiced in Kali Yuga. So these are some of the points which we thought we can discuss in our discussion today. So we start with the context of how Yudhishthira Maharaj, being a great devotee, was very much saddened by, not just saddened, but very much troubled with the death of so many soldiers and what the after effect of that war was, and how helpless many of the families of the soldiers were, and the massacre it created. War is never a good thing. And although we know from the Bhagavad Gita, from the very first, word, it was fought in Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra. It was a war of dharma fought in Dharma Kshetra. So we know it was a war that had to be fought for all the right reasons. And yet, even though it was a dharma war, dharma, the person, the king, who actually was a great follower of dharma, King Yudhishthira, was still troubled by it, and so he wanted to do a sacrifice so that he could rid the sins that was caused because of the killing of and the massacre caused because of the war. And then we come into the verse with the knowledge that the war had cost a lot of money to the king and the kingdom. So although there was money enough from the fines or the taxes that were being collected, just about money enough to run the empire, but there wasn't money enough to do the Ashwamedha Yagna, or the horse sacrifice that Yudhishthira Maharaj was thinking of doing. Now, sacrifices in those days, they had to be absolutely perfect, and to ensure perfection, all the things needed to be done and prepared and collected and gathered and arranged in the right way, in the right proportion, and all of that did require Lakshmi, and Yudhishthira Maharaj did not have that. And that is when we come to this verse where it starts with saying that understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, collected sufficient riches from the north left by King Maruti. So the first word of the verse, understanding the hearty wishes of the king. Now, why is this word so important when we come to Krishna consciousness, or when we think about Krishna? what is the word that actually is behind the meaning of understanding somebody. So say, for example, even if we go, even if before we think about what is being talked about in this verse, if we just think of our material relationships. Now in this verse, we are looking into the relationships between King Yudhishthira. There's mention about his brothers, and there's mention about Krishna, and they all understood each other, and there was, there was a relationship between them. Similarly, when we think about in our material world, when we have relations with our parents, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our children, what is the main emotion that underlies the word understanding? What do you think is the main thing that helps people to understand each other?
That we are all part and parcel of Krishna.
Yes, yeah, we are all part of, but what about if people are not Krishna consciousness and they are not aware of it?
Is it love?
Love, yes. Yeah, it could be. Sometimes it's love, sometimes it's anything but love. But there's still, you still understand if you're playing a game of, a match of tennis, you want to understand what your opponent is thinking of. Sometimes there is very little love lost over there, but you still kind of understand. And what we try to, what we can kind of gauge over here is that to understand something or to understand somebody or a situation, there needs to be some kind of a connection. If there is a connection, you tend to understand what is going on, and you relate things or you relate matters. Now over here in the verse, we see that Krishna understands the wishes of King Yudhishthira. And this is where we see the magnanimity of Krishna. He understands us all. Now, in the material world, people may forget Krishna, but Krishna understands all. Krishna knows what is going on in the minds of all of us. And when it comes to the minds of devotees, he is that extra munificent, he is that extra understanding. He arranges for things to happen. And as devotees, we see so many times where, in our where sometimes we think, oh, what is going to happen to me? But somehow, in some way, things happen. I was our local priest in the temple, in a Gauriya mission temple over here in London. He was once talking about, where they had gone to a program and it was quite late at night and the monks were very hungry. It was a very, very busy time. They were returning from the program during a rush hour. And yet, when they were driving, all the red lights were just turning into greens as soon as their car was approaching the traffic lights. So if Krishna did not understand the minds of the monks, and if he did not love his devotee, that would not have happened. I also, I have one of my mentors over here. She's devotee of Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who's based in Mayapur town. And she was saying that once she was having a lot of trouble at work, and she didn't mention that to anyone, not even to her husband. And then because, their trip to Mayapur was coming up, and she didn't, behind all of that, she forgot to talk about it, and she didn't want to talk about work problems when they were thinking of going to the Dham. And yet when they went to the Dham and she met her Guru Maharaj Jayapataka Swami, the first thing he asked was, how's your work going? Is everything okay? And she said, I was so amazed. So how did he know about it? I didn't tell anybody. Okay, I knew and Krishna knew. So I talked to myself somehow. When I talked to myself, I was thinking I was keeping everything to myself. Then we see how, Krishna speaks to us in different ways, and how Krishna connects with us in different ways, whether it is through our gurus, who are none other than representatives of Krishna in this material world, and who is our greatest mercy by Krishna on this in this material world. But Krishna understands us, and that is the first thing that this verse wants to understand. This verse wants us to understand that yes, there are many examples, yes, there are other things, yes, there's Yudhishthira Maharaj, but the first thing we need to understand from this verse is that Krishna understands his devotees. In fact, Krishna understands everybody, but he's more munificent, and he's more, kind and merciful towards his devotees. So before we go on to Krishna understanding King Yudhishthira, can I just open it up to the forum and try to get some other examples where we have seen where Krishna understood his devotees. There are so many examples throughout our Shastras. Can we just refer to some? Okay. Any other examples coming to the mind?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
In Prahlada Narsimha Leela, so Krishna understood that Prahlad Maharaj was thinking that Krishna is everywhere, and he understood that Krishna is everywhere.
Yes.
And because to make his word true, he came out of the pillar.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then he can manifest from anywhere. So of course, he's present everywhere in each and every atom. But to prove him and to prove to Hiranyakashipu, so he understood, devotee's mind, and then he came out of the pillar to just to.
That's true. That's true. I mean, he came to Prahlad Maharaj as he was thinking, and he did as Prahlad Maharaj wished. The same we can say about the other young devotee, Dhruva Maharaj, how he connected with Lord Krishna by constantly thinking about him, and Krishna understood that. We see how Krishna understood Draupadi's cry for help. Or whether it's the elephant Gajendra's cry for help, Krishna understood that. And there was this connection. Krishna never forgets. If you connect with Krishna once, Krishna understands you even better, and Krishna never forgets that. And this is something we always have to remember. Krishna never forgets his devotees, and that is what he tells even in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, that my devotees are never in danger because I'm always with them. We see how Krishna didn't forget Ajamil. So even though Ajamil forgot Krishna, right at the end of his life, when Ajamil called Narayan, without even meaning Krishna, Krishna connected and Krishna understood and Krishna delivered him. But what to think of all of these devotees? We talk about the greatest devotees of Krishna, Radharani and the Vrajavasis. Krishna understood their pleas. When Krishna left Vrindavan, Krishna understood what was going through their minds. And Krishna, just as they were pining for Krishna, Krishna was pining for them in Mathura, in Dwaraka. And that's the reason he sends Uddhav to go and talk to them, to make them understand. And we see how Radharani used to connect to Krishna even when he wasn't in Vrindavan. She used to talk, she used to sit and talk to Krishna, and nobody would be able to see Krishna there, but she used to talk to Krishna because Krishna was always with her. And Vrindavan, Krishna never really left Vrindavan. So the real devotees of Krishna connects with Krishna at all times, sees Krishna at all times, and follows the principle what has been given to the acharyas to us over ages, that never forget Krishna and always remember Krishna. The only difference is that we have to remember that, whereas the real devotees, that happens to them automatically. They automatically remember Krishna all the time, and they never forget Krishna at any time. Okay, so we see how Krishna understood that Yudhishthira Maharaj really wanted to do this sacrifice, and hence he advised the brothers, the other Pandava brothers, to go to the Himalayas, where there was this mountain with the peak made of gold. And that mountain belonged to the King Maruti, who had got this mountain from the Lord himself because of his pious deeds. And then we come to King Maruti, and Prabhupada talks a lot about King Maruti and what a great emperor he was. So Prabhupada says that King Maruti ruled his kingdom a long time before Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he was a great devotee. And he was also a devotee of the son of the sun god, Yamaraja. So it was said in an indirect way. So instead of saying Yamaraja, so Prabhupada in his purport says he's the son of the sun god, Yamaraja. Sorry, he was a devotee of the sun. He was a devotee of the son god, Yamaraja. But please excuse me, King Maruti was the son of Maharaj Avikshit, and he was a great devotee. Now, going back to the fact that he was also a devotee of the sun god. The sun god had a lot of, his sons were great devotees, all of them. So one of them was or is Yamaraj, as we know. Can anyone tell me any of his other sons? Also great devotees? So Vaivashvata Manu. Manu is also one of his other sons. Yamraj has a twin sister, Yamuna, who we know as Yamuna Devi, who is also a consort of Krishna himself. We also have the Ashwin Kumars, who are the divine doctors, and they are sons of the sun god as well. And, you know, we'll also hear, if we go to Ramayana, we'll also hear about, the sons of the sun god. So coming to Yamraja, we see that King Maruti is said to be a great devotee, and as a great devotee, he was a devotee of Yamraja. Now, there is this kind of Yamraja. Why do we call him as a great devotee? Now, on one hand, people are scared of him. And on the other hand, we call him a great devotee. In fact, he is one of the 12 Mahajans, who are the great devotees. Earlier we have heard about Bhishmadev and some of the other Mahajans, and so is Yamaraj. So what is the other name of Yamaraj? So the other name of Yamaraj, now he is a great devotee. That is the first thing we have to remember. So being a great devotee, he believes in dharma. He believes in righteousness, and he's an upholder of righteousness. That is the service that Krishna has given him, to uphold righteousness, dharma. So he's also Dharmaraj. He's not just Yamraj, he's also Dharmaraj. So to a devotee, Yamraj is a great devotee, and they pray to him, and Yamraj or Dharmaraj protects devotees and is a well-wisher of the devotee and takes them more towards Krishna. But to a non-devotee, Yamraj is not their friend. Okay, so we see how a non-devotee, after they leave their material body, how they have to go through the judgments of Yamraj's empire and Yamraj's rules, and how they have to go through the perils or the difficulties that their souls had brought upon themselves because of wrong karma that they did. So again, so that is the reason we see that King Maruti followed Dharmaraj or Yamaraj, because Yamaraj is a great devotee and a great friend of devotees. We also hear that King Maruti, he was such a great devotee that he did yagnas every single day. Now, on one hand, we are seeing that just doing one yagna, just how difficult it is to get things ready. The other thing is that, you know, to do a yagna, everything has to be perfect for it to be a successful yagna. And for King Maruti to do that every single day, we understand just how much great a devotee he was, to have the mercy of Krishna to be able to do perfect yagnas every single day. Yep. So once he performed the Sankara Yagna, and this yagna, he did it so well that even Krishna was really, really happy with him. And to reward him for praying to Krishna in such a devotional way, Krishna gave him the mountain peak full of gold, and the mountain peak was made of gold, and this mountain peak is somewhere in the Himalayas. And Prabhupada in his purport says that modern adventurers, if they are adventurous enough, they can still find it today. Now obviously, because it's in the Shastras, we know that this is a true fact. And we know that this mountain does exist in the Himalayan range somewhere. But we also know that our material eyes and eyes of non-devotees are not qualified enough to see everything. Now, just the other day, we were talking about how Newton said that every action has a reaction. And if you do something, karma will come back in exactly the same way. But we also see that there are some workings of karma or some workings of reactions which we do not understand, which transcends one lifetime, goes back to millions of lifetimes, and which just a simple rule of action and reaction does not explain. There are certain things which we have to understand, is that there are certain things which are beyond our understanding. Similarly, we have to accept that there are certain things which are beyond our material vision. So if we are not able to see something which is not in the range of our eyes, which is at the back of our head, that does not mean that that does not exist. So I found Prabhupada's line in this purport very, very interesting, because it was an encouragement to devotees that yes, if you are a true devotee, you will find that mountain with the golden peak in the Himalayan range. But if it's a non-devotee, you have to aspire to become a true devotee to be able to see that golden mountain peak. But King Maruti was a true devotee. And so he had that golden mountain with him, and he was able to do yagna every single day. And not only that, he was able to give gifts to the brahmanas, lots of gifts to all the people who came to his yagnas. And it was not just the brahmanas who attended the yagna, but it was also heavenly entities from the other lokas who came to take part in the yagna, and attended the yagna and gained from the yagna. And we hear about, how the king of the heavens, Indra, was so very happy. He used to come and attend the yagna. We hear about Brihaspati and Chandra coming to the yagna. We hear about the people from the airy planets, the Vayuloka, coming and helping in the cooking, to expedite the cooking process. So because it was a yagna, lots of prasadam had to be made, and for prasadam to be cooked in, you had to have the air, and to probably, when you had fires, you need air for the fire to burn with greater, big flames. So people from Vayuloka also came and took part and wanted to do some kind of service. Now, because Prabhupada mentioned Vayuloka over here, I just thought I'll do a little bit of finding out about Vayuloka. Quite a few sessions ago, we were talking about the 14 planetary systems and how there are 7 planetary systems above the Earth, and 6 planetary systems above the Earth, and 7 planetary systems below Earth. Now we also we also find a little bit about Vayuloka from Prabhupada's purport, and anyone knows anything about Vayuloka? And who is who resides there? I mean, yes, Lord Vayu resides there, but anything else about Vayuloka?
Vayudeva is the father of Hanuman.
Yes, he's the father of Hanuman. Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Any other information? Okay. So again, correct me, Prabhuji's and Mataji's if I'm wrong anywhere. I read that one of the sons of Kashyap Muni was called Putatma, and he once went to a land which was just a bit north of Varun Loka. Varun is, what is Varun? Water. Yes, so Varun Loka. So he went to a land, a beautiful, beautiful land, which was just a bit above, on the north of Varun Loka, and that land was called Gandvati. So he went, so Putatma, the son of Kashyap Muni, went there, and he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. So he sat on that land and place, and he prayed to Lord Shiva for many, many, many years. And he prayed not only to Lord Shiva, but he also prayed to Ma Parvati. Now, at the end of thousands of years, Lord Shiva was very happy with Putatma, and he came to him and asked him what he wanted, what boon he wanted. And Putatma said that I really like this place and I would like to be here. And I would like to pray pray more, being in this land, and I would also like to pray. I would like to pray the Lord, being in this land, being from here, because this is such a beautiful place. So Lord Shiva said, yes, you can be there, and that is when that land or that place or that planet became Vayuloka, and that is, or the airy planet, or the planet of the airy beings, and Putatma started living there as Lord Vayu, or Vayu, or the king of Vayuloka. So that is Vayuloka, and we see how in the yagnas that was done by King Maruti, people from the Vayuloka even came. Now, one of the things we get to learn from here is that, you know, if we have people from heavenly planets coming to the earthly planets, taking part in a sacrifice done by a jiva, then there must be something special. And it tells us immediately just how great and how pious a king King Maruti was. And in his purport, in so many lines, Prabhupada has kept talking about, you know, just how great King Maruti was, not just the heavenly entities, but even even Krishna was happy with him. And why is Prabhupada talking so much about King Maruti when he's talking, when the verse is around King Yudhishthira trying to arrange for yagna, trying to arrange for some Lakshmi for his yagna, and we kind of think that, you know, it is because we are given a direction to understand that King Yudhishthira was a great pious king as well, and the riches, the mountain peak made of gold that was given to him by Lord Krishna, it is befitting for King Yudhishthira to get it, because King Yudhishthira was an equally pious king. And that is the reason Krishna directed the brothers to get that rich for King Yudhishthira, because there couldn't have been a more righteous king, because Yudhishthira was also Dharmaraj, if you think about it. So there was no other person more befitting than King Yudhishthira to get that Lakshmi, to get that mountain peak made of gold. And also, the other point that this purport is directing us to, either through King Maruti or through King Yudhishthira, is that Lakshmi is being used not for any other sense gratification. So King Maruti used that gold to do his yagnas and to give, to provide or give gifts to the brahmanas who were the upholders of dharma in the land. Similarly, Yudhishthira Maharaj is looking to get this Lakshmi only so that he's able to do the Ashwamedha Yagna. So this is a life teaching that we need to keep in mind. We know that Lakshmi is very chanchala. She doesn't stay and she only stays when her husband is around, when Vishnu or Narayan is around. So if to get Lakshmi, we have to remember that we need to use that Lakshmi to serve the Lord. If we use Lakshmi not to serve the Lord, but use it just for our own sense gratification or use it for doing wrong things, that Lakshmi is going to be very, very short-lived. And that is another teaching that is constantly given in all the Shastras throughout, that if you are to make use of Lakshmi, if you are praying to Lakshmi, or if you are, taking the shelter of Lakshmi, we have to always keep in mind that the Lakshmi is for the ultimate goal of serving the Lord. Otherwise, Lakshmi will not stay. Okay, so also towards the end of the purport, we see how Prabhupada talks about the yagnas in the earlier days and yagnas now. But before that, he also mentions how King Maruti wanted to have Brihaspati as the priest in his land, and Brihaspati actually said no, because not because he didn't want to, but because it wasn't really ideal for someone in the heavenly planets, from the heavenly planets, to leave the heavenly planets, especially when he was a priest in the heavenly planets, and he's a guru of the devatas or the gods, to leave everything over there and come to the material world and become a priest over here. So Brihaspati did not reject King Maruti as such, but it is just that he was doing his service to the Lord and he wanted to stay as the Lord has advised him to do. But that, of course, so King Maruti wasn't, was a bit sad that Brihaspati couldn't accept the invitation of becoming a priest in his kingdom. But at the same time, this brings into prominence King Maruti's brother, or his name is Samvarta, is it? I forget the name, Samvarta. Sorry, I just forgot the name of King Maruti's brother. Yes, Samvarta. So his brother Samvarta, who was an equally great priest and a great Brahmin, so much so that he could even rival Brihaspati. And what a great way to describe a person. Someone is being equaled to Brihaspati, the gurus of the god, and this is somewhat. So there are two things which we see from here. We again go back to something which we talk about all the time, the Varnashram system. We see how in a Kshatriya family we have a Brahmana. And once again, how the Shastras keep telling us that you do not become a Brahmin just by birth. you have to gain the knowledge and you have to qualify to become a Brahmin, because it was the responsibility of the Brahmins to give advice to the general people. And you know, the Brahmins gave advice to the king. The king led the country in a pious way, and that inspired the people in the land. So it had a knock-on effect, and unless and until the Brahmanas were qualified enough and were true devotees, you would have the whole kingdom crashing, as we can see in modern day, because Brahmanas in modern day are very much by birth, and they are not through qualification. But we see throughout the Shastras how many a times in a Kshatriya family we have a Brahmana taking birth, or even in a Brahmana family we have a Kshatriya taking birth. Can we think of a famous Kshatriya taking birth in a Brahmana family?
Parshuram.
Parshuram, yes, Lord Parshuram, taking birth in a Brahmana family. So, so that is one of the things that this purport wanted to highlight, that how we must remember that one only becomes a Brahmana through qualifications. And we again see the hand of another great devotee, Narad Muni, who advised Maruti, King Maruti, to appoint his brother Samvata as the priest when Brihaspati said no, and everything fell into place perfectly. And one of the other things that comes into prominence through this purport and through the verse and through the purport is that how devotees come together and help each other. And we see sometimes in our material life as well, you know, we sometimes don't know what to do, you know, we are troubled in our daily life has so many challenges, whether it's our day-to-day life, or whether it's at work. And then if we go and talk about that to a devotee, we find solace so many times if it's a true devotee. But if we talk about the same thing to another person, a non-devotee, the anxiety most of the times actually quadruples, and it doesn't go away. So we see that, you know, again, to have a perfect kingdom, a perfect land with people being with each other, there is this bonding that automatically exists between devotees, and there's the automatic wanting of one devotee wanting to help the other devotee. So whether it is the brothers of King Yudhishthira wanting to help him do the yagna, whether it is Narad Muni wanting to help devotees, Narad Muni wanting to help the great King Maruti, or when devotees help each other, things fall into place. And that is how kingdoms, that is how we have a land, a peaceful land, as the one that King Maruti had, as the one King Yudhishthira had, as the one Lord Ram had in his Ram Rajya. So this is one of the things that we also get to learn from the Shastras, that the default nature of devotees is wanting to help each other and guiding them towards more devotional service and towards the Lord. And if you're not doing that, you're not a true devotee. So the purport ends with the few sentences that whereas in the earlier times, it was very, very easy to do the yagna, not very easy, but things were perfect. You didn't have to light a fire with a matchstick. You just prayed and Agni Dev would appear. You had a perfect grass to give to the cows, who would then give perfect milk. And with that milk, he would have the perfect ghee to be used in the yagnas, not cultured or artificial ghee that we get today, where the cows are given so many chemicals and they are given injections and so much. So we don't have the proper arrangements to do a proper yagna. And the most important thing is that we do not have true brahmanas today to be able to perform the yagnas. And so we have the most munificent of the Lords, Lord Chaitanya, coming to us, who's none other than Lord Krishna himself, in his most merciful form, coming to us and telling us that the only yagna that we can do is the Sankirtan yagna, to chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam Kalau Nashti Eva Nashti Eva Nashti Eva Gatir Anyatha. There is no other way other than chanting the holy name of the Lord. And the holy name of the Lord is non-different to the Lord, as Hanumanji and all the monkeys realized. So I'll end with this very quick pastime of how when they were trying to build the bridge, they were throwing stones. They were writing the name of Lord Ram, and they were throwing stones on the ocean, and the stones were floating. And yet when Lord Ram did that, he just threw a stone, the stone just sank in the ocean. And when he asked Hanuman as to how that happened, Hanuman said that was because we wrote your name on the stones, and with the belief in your name, and we understand just how strong the name of the Lord is, and why we have been advised in this Kali Yuga to do only this yagna, Sankirtan yagna, to chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So with this, I end my discussion here today. If there are any mistakes, any corrections, I pray to all the devotees to please correct me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for this wonderful nectar. I will not forget this. You said we have to remember to think of always Krishna and never forget Krishna. So that was a very nice takeaway from this class. And also mentioned a lot of other points regarding the understanding of our relation with Krishna, and then understanding how Krishna protects all of us, and then how to understand our relation, and then how to establish that connection. Thank you so much, Mataji. I think we are heading towards almost the end of the time. Are there any other questions or comments, Hare Krishna, or corrections from Mataji? Hare Krishna. I request His Grace Parth Prem Prabhu to end the session. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much for your nice class. Yes, Mataji. There are so many new things we learn here, like the Maruta. You are giving all the description about the Maruta. And we know that Maruta, when he was in womb of mother, then by the Indra, he cutting in so many pieces, and another also he cutting, but by the blessing of Krishna or Vishnu, he did not die. And I think 56 is of that, Chappan, 56 like that, something. I'm not getting the proper, but this was happened. And no, 49, yeah, correct, 49. like that one, that pieces. And but that later then, because Krishna knows they will help in the future, because like Prabhuji told, he was the father of Hanumanji and so many things. He's a great devotee. So that Narad Muni giving the instruction. So they are the devotee of Lord Vishnu, so that they are saved. Like Parikshit Maharaj saved in the womb, like the Maruta also saved in his womb, in the mother's womb. So that is the main thing. And that money, that the opulence, what they left, it was in the use of Yudhishthira Maharaj, because Yudhishthira Maharaj also the great king, so that he needs this Lakshmi to satisfaction of the Krishna. So thank you very much, Mataji, for your nice time talking. Thank you. So thank you very much, Mataji, for your nice class. And also there are so many instruction also, when also the same thing, Nahusha, he is the father of grandfather of who? Just Nahusha, I understand. When he was also doing Yajna, and then that time also Lord Shivji, he came. That is the same thing. They left so many things after the Yajna. Then the Nahusha took that one. Ambarish Maharaj is the grandfather of Ambarish Maharaj. So that is so many instruction or instances there, because the one wealth is supposed to use for the other purpose, for the great purpose of the society. Thank you very much, Mataji, for your nice class. For giving so much about that wonderful collection of the talking about the Marutas and other things. I also thanks all the devotees who joined here. So I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of Hare Krishna. Panchali Kar Mataji, please join. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha Kalpa
Kalpatarubhyascha
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Grace Panchali Kar Mataji ki jai.
Jai.
Chair.
Jai.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Mataji.
Thank you, Patron Prabhuji, for all the teachings. Thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna
you,
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much.